And the last two guests have had 4 boys. So Brian's breaking that trend. He's got 4 kids, but 2 boys, 2 girls, right, Ryan?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay, so welcome to the Connection series. If you're watching, first thing I want to ask you to do is start a watch party on your Facebook page. So if you're watching this live, you can start a watch party, which allows us to go live on your page as well. And so Brian is going to be talking about something that's a different topic than we've had anyone talk about so far, which I'm really excited about. So Brian is first started off as a client and, has since become, a great friend. And so Brian, I'm going to give the backstory and make a formal introduction here in a minute. But first, I just want to jump right in because it's called the Connection series. It's all about how to be more connected as a family. Now, I've just, Brian's actually, he and his wife, Maury, in our beta group for Family Brand right now, going through one of the first families going through the Family Brand course, which we're going to launch. But I know Brian personally through that and other things. I'm following him on social media. Brian's one of the most successful cosmetic dentists in the world and one of the most innovative cosmetic dentists in the world. As such, like in high demand and works a lot. But the quarantine in, some ways kind of forced you to slow down. And I know that you had some things you learned out about that. And I saw you made a post recently about some things you're committed to going forward, or things you're not committed to going forward. Like, what are some things that you learned out of this experience? Like, if there's something that you could give families advice on about how to be more connected, just some things you learned. I know you guys went camping and did some things like, what were some things you learned? Like, if you could give families 1 or 2 pointers quick, like just on something that could have us be more connected.
Well, I just posted that more for good content. There's no truth behind that. No. So, I mean, so let's be real. I think the hardest thing that we all face, is, and on different levels, right? Whether we call it balance or not being connected, like you can be present and not connected, right? You can be at home and you can be going through the motions, but not connected. I think when all of that happened and it kind of forced me to slow down, it just gave me, I guess, this realization of how not present I was a lot of times when I wasn't home, right? So being home and realizing, like, if there was not something to do at any minute, like I was kind of going stir crazy. I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing stuff that I would never do in a million years because I felt like I needed to do something where, being forced to slow down and like sit and do a puzzle and sit on the couch and do nothing, opened up just different conversations with my kids and my wife that I've ever had before. And so it was, for something that I'm always trying to work on, it was a great experience to be able to experience that.
And so with that said, like one of my favorite quotes, Brian, you and I maybe have talked about this, maybe we haven't, but one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know who came up with it because every time I try to give someone credit for it, they'll say like, oh, Willie Nelson came up with it, right. Jim Rohn, but it's like, wherever you are, be there. And so there's so many times in life where we're there, but we're not really there, right? Like, so like, it's not about just being present. Like you said, it's about being connected. And so, I think that's an amazing nugget. So for all of those you watching right now, like what would that look like for you to not just be there or to not just be present, but to actually really be there and be connected with your family? And man, it's hard because we're tethered to these things now all day, every day, like the amount of distractions in our world. It's like becoming more difficult to be present. It takes real intentionality. So
I think it's different for everybody too. I mean, I feel like it's something you're really good at. And that's why, I hired you as a coach when I did. I feel like, for me, the way it occurs is I'll be sitting there and I know when I'm doing it because I'll be in conversation with my kids and my wife and I'm thinking of the next thing I'm going to say, or I'm thinking of, and like for me to actually turn it off, like I can put this down, I can set it aside, but like for me to turn it off and just be like really listening, it's crazy, but your whole body changes. I mean, it's just it's a different experience for me. Not something to do at any minute.
Yeah. And I think for me, like a good test of that is like, how often do you find yourself sitting there, like thinking about what you're going to say next, or like what question you're going to ask, which is like not present, right? Like, can we just be with people with just no agenda and just be present? So welcome again, everyone. We have some people that have been with us since the beginning. Some more people just tuned in. We're here live with Dr. Brian Harris as part of the Connection series for Family Brand. And so Brian is, yeah, one of the most successful, most innovative cosmetic dentists in the world. And he's pioneered a new concept called, Smile Virtual. And Smile Virtual is where you can, connect with a dentist virtually from anywhere in the world and basically, learn about that dentist story and what it is they do. And then say like, man, I want to work with that dentist, and then fly in from anywhere in the world and get a new smile. And so Brian pioneered that for himself first, and then went on to like now serves hundreds of dentists through Smile Virtual, in addition to still running his own cosmetic dental practice. And Brian, the thing that I wanted you to talk about today is that I know that it wasn't easy for you to get there, because I had an opportunity to watch Brian closely and get to know his story. Because at the time when Brian made this decision, he was still doing a lot of general dentistry. He was doing a lot of kids dentistry. But he knew, like, but there's this thing over here I really want to do. There's this thing I really feel called to do, which is like, I want to build people's confidence. And the most powerful way I know how to do that is through cosmetic dentistry, which means I would have to give up doing kids dentistry and general dentistry, which at that time you were doing way more kids and general dentistry than you were cosmetic. So it was a big leap of faith. And so I just wanted to talk about, like, what have you learned about that? Like this idea of like doing the thing that you really feel called to do and having the confidence to do it. And then that like forces you to innovate. Cause correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but it wasn't like in your situation, you were like, I'm going to go be really innovative. It was like, you had to figure out how to be innovative if you were going to have the confidence to go do this thing you really wanted to do. So yeah, just maybe just speak to that. Cause I can tell you there's so many parents and so many families watching this that they have something they really want to go do.
Yeah. Well, so it happened in that mastermind you and I were a part of, when you guys challenged me. So I'll tell the quick backstory. We were in a mastermind event. I was trying to get help from the group on like what I should do, because I was traveling probably 2 times a month, speaking all over the world. Successful office, I had 5 offices at that time. Like from the outside looking in, it was like, oh, Harris has it all together. But like on the inside, I was dying, right? Because I was getting burned out, and it was good. I wasn't dying, but I was just like, hey, is there more to this? Is there, what I see now is the difference between achievement and fulfillment. Like I felt like I was achieving a lot, but I wasn't fulfilled. And when you guys pushed me and challenged me to like, well, Brian, what do you want to do? And I remember saying, well, I'd like to work this many days, and I'd like to lecture this many times. And you kept pushing me, and they're like, no, in a perfect world, like, what would you do? And that's when I cried. I cried in front of the group, which doesn't happen all that often. I'm not a very emotional person. And my wife's like, you cried? She's like, I don't even remember the last time you cried in front of me. So I cried in front of the group, but I like had this breakdown. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I want to work 3 days a week. And I only want to like work with people that want to work with me and transform their smile and transform their lives, and help them create these pivot points in their life. And you guys are like, good, write it down. So I wrote it down, and then I stopped crying at that point. And you're like, okay, when do you start? I'm like, January 1, write it down. And it felt so good to like put it all out there. But then like after that, that's like when the work really started, because then I sat down and you guys were like, okay, cool. Now you're starting January 1. You need to get this in writing, take it home to your family. Maury and each of your kids, we have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. Everyone needs to sign it, and you have to be all in. And I think that's where like it got tough, because then I had to like realize like, okay, I need to really commit to this. And so I committed to it, not knowing how I was going to get there.
Yeah. So what gave you the confidence to do it? Because that's actually a huge thing that we see all the time with entrepreneurs and just human beings, is like they have this thing they really want to go do, but then the thing that stops it is like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Like the how has killed, I believe, more ideas and more dreams and more possibilities. So it's like, you didn't even know how you were going to do it, but you over time, you basically overnight just said, you gave all your general dentistry and your other dentistry to your dad and your brother who, have the practice with you, and you just forced the schedule to fill up. So like, what finally gave you the confidence? Because this was something you'd thought about for a while. Like, what gave you the confidence to actually commit to it?
Well, I think I looked at it. I was able to see it differently. Before it was like, well, I could never just go do that because that's just not how things are done in dentistry. Like you
That's not
can't.
what you should do. That's not what you should do or you're supposed to do.
Exactly. And you got to remember, I come from, my dad's a dentist, so my father-in-law's a dentist, two brothers are dentists. I mean, it's just in the family. And so like, you can't really like be selfish and only do the things you love to do. But then I step back and look at it, I'm like, well, why not? Like, why can't I do that? Why can't I only do what I love? And if I did, what would be the worst case scenario? And I started to play it out and I'm like, actually, worst case scenario, what I could probably recover from in a couple months. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And, I mean, since then, without getting into details, that like it's been 3 years now. That's all I've done. I haven't done, anything on the general dentistry side. And I've, doubled the production that I was doing, not to speak from a financial standpoint, but
Yeah.
It's been less work, twice as financially successful. But the most important part of all of it is this level of fulfillment, because now every day I show up and just work with like amazing people that are stuck and that are looking for like this. They're looking for their next place. Like, how do I get to this place of happiness, of confidence? Like, how do I get to this place in my personal relationships, professional? And like, I get to be a part of that,
Yeah. And what I love, like, Brian is one of the most innovative cosmetic dentists in the world, in the form, like in the sense that he pioneered really a new technology, a new way of approaching dentistry. But again, the innovation didn't come because Brian set out to be like, I'm going to be really innovative. The innovation happened because he like got really clear, like, this is what I want to do. I only want to work with people that want to transform their lives and their smiles through confidence. I only want to do new smiles. I only want to do cosmetic dentistry. And the commitment to that then forced you to say, well, all right, now that I've committed to it, like, how do I figure out how to do that? And it's like, well, I could reach more people if I wasn't just limited like geographically, like I could reach more people. And then this idea of, Smile Virtual was born. And so what I love about Brian's story is, yeah, like he's more aligned with his family and he's more connected with his family. He's personally happier. But I also do love the business results side of this. Like, I love the fact that in just his personal production, it's doubled. Like, so he's doubled his personal production by working less. But also, like, how many dentists do you guys have right now on the Smile Virtual platform?
We have about 350, 360 right now.
And they pay on average how much a month?
$399 a month.
So 350 dentists paying $399 a month. You guys can do the math. Like, that's a really amazing. Like, I think you've actually that's just in the Smile Virtual. You're generating more revenue each month than you used to do in just being the general dentist, right?
Yeah, but what's crazy is, yes. And so we're one of the fastest like growing companies in that space in dentistry. But the cool part about it is I've never had to take any of that revenue. I've been able to use that and keep it in the company and grow it and have it like really turn into something amazing for these other doctors. So I think, can I go back for 1 second?
Yeah, please.
I think this is a key part of, being the connection series. I think is a big part of the story. Once I realized that's what I wanted to do, then it was like, well, how do I do it? And I looked at the way things were done in dentistry and just the normal cycle we put patients through. It's like there's millions of people out there, whether it's one crown or taking a tooth out or it's a whole smile of veneers. There's millions of people that have no idea who to trust. They have no idea what to do. They have no idea what things cost. But as dentists, we make them go through, like, we don't quote fees. We make them jump through all these hoops, take time off work, get babysitters, drive 2 hours out of the day, go through all that. We lean them back, give them a laundry list of items that need to be done. And then we're like, go talk to Jenny. She'll figure out a way to split it up into payments. It's like there's no connection whatsoever. Right. And so I looked at it and just thought, hey, what if, instead of making people go through all that, what if we just told people what they wanted to hear? Like, what if I made it easy for them to send me a photo and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm trying to change. What are my options? And then I recorded virtual consults and sent it back to them. Hey, this is who I am. Like, I can for sure help you. Here's your options. Here's what it costs. When you're ready, reach out. So it's not, and I did it for free. So it's not, it's doing it for the sole purpose of just serving them and helping them see what's possible. And then it just exploded. And then that is when you, at one point you said, Brian, the cool thing is not about the difference it makes. It's the difference makes. And I started looking at that and I thought, you're right. It's not the difference I made in Alexa's life by transforming her smile. It's the difference that made in like her kid's life and her husband's life. And it's, so I almost feel like I got to be a part of, how they experience her. And then that's when I said, hey, what if I, instead of having to be the one doing all the smiles, what if I could get 350 doctors now doing the same thing for their patients and impacting? So now I feel like I get to sit back and all these people get impacted and they're moving throughout life with more confidence. And, just from just one little idea of what if, and then just having the guts to go and do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I love, like, this is the connection series about how to be more connected and as a family and create more connection. And Brian like figured out how to do that in a business. It's like, man, I'm in this industry where like, there's not a lot of real, like, true, authentic connection. Like we're not really connecting with people at a deep level. And so what would you estimate, like, through these 350 dentists, have you guys ever tried to put the math to like how many patients you guys are impacting or have impacted?
I don't know. I haven't actually added it all up. I know I've done like 4,000 of these virtual consults now. And I mean, so you can imagine the numbers. And the cool thing is not everybody moves forward.
Yeah.
Let's say half of them never move forward, but how great is it? At least they now know it's possible. And then when they are ready, they will move forward. And so it's just such a different way of doing business in a world where, a lot of times we don't want to create transparency. We want to, put people through the dog and pony show to then be able to show them why they need to pay us this much money instead of just being authentic about it.
Yeah. So if you guys are watching this right now, I'd encourage you to start a watch party and like tag someone in this, and tag someone that you've heard them over the years tell you like, oh man, there's this thing I really want to go do. Right. But they still haven't done it. Like, tag them in this, like, or you ask any questions you want or comment on, like, is there something you really want to go do and you just haven't done it? And maybe you haven't done it because you don't know how you're going to do it, or you don't know, like, could it be possible? And what I love about what you said too, Brian, is like, when you really imagine the worst case scenario that could happen to most of us with something like this, well, what we imagine as the worst case scenario usually never comes true. And if it did, most of us would really be okay still. So it's like, what's stopping most of us from really going and doing the thing we really, really want to do? Like, and sometimes it's like, well, I don't know how. I'm worried about like the fear of failure, or, well, but I mean, yeah, this thing I really want to go do, but my entire life I've kind of been like on this trajectory of what I should do and what I'm supposed to do. And yeah, it takes some real courage and confidence sometimes to step out of all of that. And it's like, yeah, all that's true. And I'm still going to go do this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What do you see change for these people when they come and get a new smile from you? Like, cause before, I think, when you and I were first talking, you're like, yeah, it's cool. It's about the teeth. I'm like helping them have a beautiful smile. And then you quickly were like, no, this is way bigger than the teeth. It's not even about the teeth. The teeth is like the vehicle. But yeah, what do you see change for these people when they find this confidence?
Well, it's different for everybody, right? But what I see mostly is, so there's two sides, because so I have daughters, right? I have young daughters, I have teenage boys. So there's like this fatherly side of me that's like, hey, like, people are beautiful how they are. Like, you don't need to change anything to be confident. You don't need that. Then there's this other side of me that like lives in this world where I physically get to go and create it with my hands and see what it does for them, see job promotions, like new relationships. I get to be a part of that and see what it really does to people. And I do think there's self-confidence, but then there's like this next level of self-confidence. And people see it sometimes in workout routines or diets or like fitness stuff. Sometimes it's, people see it in so many different ways. But I think the unique thing about a smile is that it's like, dude, you use it every day in everything you do to communicate with anybody. It's like the thing that never goes away. It's always there and present. And so it does impact people's lives and helps them see that they can go on and do bigger things.
Yeah. And what I love about it from personal experience, so I've gotten the new smile from Brian. He's amazing. And I'll tell you this though, like, had I gotten a new smile from Brian even just like 10 years ago, it would have done a little bit for my confidence, but there was this deeper level of self-confidence that like can't be done by anything external that I still would have been missing. Like, but because of just some amazing people in my life and mentors and a lot of work I'd done on myself, with or without that, the new smile, I had started like, I had started becoming free enough to be like, man, I like who I am. Right. Like I had started becoming free enough to be like, I'm enough, like just as I am. And so, that thing to me though, is like same thing you're telling, like you said, like I want my daughters, my kids to know, like, you don't need to do anything to your physical appearance to like, to be beautiful or to be enough. But I think that that's a real, it's always been a risk in society. It's even more so, and especially with kids, is this feeling of like, oh, I've got to do something or look something or be something to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that's like an endless pursuit, right? Like to go find that thing. Whereas what if we could actually help kids see that like, oh yeah, no, you're totally enough. Like just you as you are right now, you're perfect. So if I do choose to go get a new smile, I'm not doing it from a place of because I'm not enough. It's like, no, I already know I'm enough. I'm doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because it'll still make even a difference for me. And I can tell you it has for me. Like it has made a difference for me having a new smile, but it just, I think it was from a completely different place than.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think it's, it's different for everybody. I mean, I wish I could play Alexa's story right now. Maybe I'll send it out and you can post it later, but it's 12 and a half years battling an eating disorder, beats it. She's 2 years in remission. She's married now, has a kid, but she's just like every day she wakes up and looks in the mirror and just remembers 12 and a half years of like sadness and not being in control. And so she reached out to me and started the conversation of like, I want to be able to forget that.
Right.
And so giving her that transformation and seeing her now and where she's gone in life. So it's like that piece is everything to me. Then there's the other piece of, I had a guy in yesterday, great teeth, but I look down, he's got the Bentley keyring, sitting right there. He's fit, just like good looking dude, super cool guy. And like for him, it's like, he just wants next level. He's all about like success and he's there and, he's got an awesome personality. He's like, dude, the teeth are going to take me to that next level. So that gets me excited too, because I'm like, hey, that's what works for him, And so
right.
it is so personal based on like where you're at in life, but people don't need it. Right. I mean, there's other ways to gain that. It's just, it so happens to be the vehicle that I use to provide that.
Because of what you've seen, like in Alexa's story, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people are searching for that confidence still like way late in life, right? In their 30s, 40s, 50s. Like, what kind of difference does it make if we can instill that kind of confidence in kids? Like where they're not leaving our homes searching for it. It's like they're leaving our homes with that foundation in place.
Yeah. So if we shift the way, so if I take what I do as an artist and say, okay, let's leave it behind on the dental world and come into more of the family world of, instead of creating smiles, like what can I actually go and do and create in my own children so that they don't have to look for it in outside places. They don't have to look for approval, from friends or from other people that are maybe going to get them like off on the wrong path, that they can be enough. They can be enough when somebody doesn't treat them right. They can say, okay, that's okay. Like I'm okay with who I am.
Right.
That's this stuff's easy. I create with my hands all day. That stuff is like, I mean, that's next level strategy. And you really got to put the time and effort into that.
Totally. So one of the things I see you post on Instagram, and again, a lot of the people that watch this are entrepreneurs that have families, business owners have families. So I thought this would be cool. Is like, I think on your Instagram bio, it says, some people would say I'm a dentist, but what I really do is build confidence, or, creating beautiful smiles is what I do. Building confidence is who I am. What changed for you when you realized that? Because I think there's a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that they maybe don't see the deeper level of that. Like in your case, it's like, it'd be really easy as a dentist to just be like, oh yeah, it's just about the teeth.
Yeah.
Or if I'm a guy that or a woman who, I have a construction company, it's like, oh yeah, it's just about the homes, or it's just about the, but when you saw like, no, it's not even about the teeth. Like the teeth is just the vehicle. It's like what changes for you as a business owner?
I think it's funny because when I first went through your Campfire Effect program and crafted that message and came up with that based on my past story and experiences, it felt a little funny at first because some people may look at that and be like, oh, it's so cliche. It's like my friends will tease me. They're like, hey, confidence builder. I love it. I love it now because for me, it's one thing to say it. And that's why I think your programs are so different and why we're going through the family brand stuff now with you is like, you can go and teach somebody how to tell story and come up with something that sounds cool. But if you don't feel it, if you don't like own it and live it, it's not the same. And so I think when I realized for me, that is why I do what I do, is it is that transformation. It is like building that in people. Then it became real. And now I can say, yeah, I build confidence. And my kids,
Awesome.
my kids think I'm a dork. When people are like, what do you do? Some people may know me as a dentist, but what I really do is build confidence. It's like eyes roll, but it's like, it's fun now, right?
That's awesome.
It's a different way of, I think you have to see yourself in that way to really be successful in that.
Yeah. Were you confident as a kid? Like not confident, super confident? Like what, like, I mean, you're growing up like.
No, I had braces for 7 years of my life. Right. And I had headgear. I had, I've already got like the big forehead and the big nose, and they like were pulling everything back. I was like a real life Bart Simpson. Right. And then I had to go to another orthodontist and they pulled everything forward. So I lacked self-confidence as a teenager, but it didn't help that I had like two brothers that were like GQ models at the time. Not really, but kind of. And so I was always like, I had confidence, but there was always this like underlying thing of like, I was confident if I was in the back of the room, but not like in the middle of the room. Right.
Yeah.
Some little things about appearance, but also just in, I think most teenagers are trying to find out who they are and figure out life and confidence. And so I would say I didn't lack a ton, but I definitely wasn't confident to like go and be my own person. Surround myself with great friends and we were good as a group, but I was never like, the leader. Right.
Yeah. Has this experience, Brian, if you like, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. There's this thing I really want to do. I've been talking about it forever, but like for the first time, I'm really going to do it. I don't know how it's going to happen. And then you did that. Has that like created almost this like habit of confidence now where it's like, you see it spilling over into any area of your life? It's like, I can go do anything.
That's a problem. If you ask Maury, it's a problem. No, like perfect example. Like I launched, actually goes live next week, an oral care brand of clean products, and it's going gangbusters right now. And I've got 12 boxes for editors for like all the major magazines that all want to try it. And it's like, once I realized like, oh, you really can actually go and create it. You just have to believe it and then be hungry. You got to be hungry to chase it. You start to see the possibilities. Like you really can go create whatever you want. But now it's more this idea of like, okay, but how do I control that so that I don't lose track of who I am and what my real purpose is, right?
Totally. And one of the reoccurring things we've had of all of the guests on here, it's like, and I really believe this, like, I believe one of the greatest skills that we can teach our children is that like that hunger to be resourceful and like create it. It's like, look, yeah, you want something? You can go create it. And guess what? You're 100% responsible to create it. It's like both, right? But man, if kids can grow up in a home and a culture, or whether they grow up in that, but someday figure that out, it's like, wow, like I really can go do. But like you said, it kind of becomes like almost like a drug. It's like, wow, I can just decide I'm going to go do something and then say I'm going to do it and then like go actually do the work and like create it. And that like that confidence, I think most people are just like one win away in just one area of their life from seeing it like and how it could be possible in every area of their life.
That's a really good point. And so I think this is an important thing to talk about because I feel like I've always had that desire to go and create stuff. And I had a couple other different ventures, like great ideas, but they were great ideas because, that could be something that makes me money, right? Just, it was a good financial idea. And they never worked out because when things got hard and I was like, this is stupid. Let's move on to the next one. And it wasn't until, like, for me, that's why Smile Virtual was so different and the products were so different, because now it was more like, no, this is actually something I love to do, regardless of whether it makes me money or not. Like, it helps me in like fulfilling like my goal of what I want to create. Then it's like everything now just works and it takes off. So I think that's a big piece of advice that I would give is, don't do it for the financial gain. Do it because you love it, knowing that if it goes well, the other stuff will fall into place.
Totally. Okay. So dude, this is awesome. Again, I hope you guys are watching this. Start a watch party. If you know someone that's like been talking to you for years about like, hey, I want to do this thing and haven't gone after it, tag them in this so they can watch this, because Brian's an amazing example of what's possible when you get really clear on what you want to do, and then you have the confidence like go after it and do the work for it. So last question: if there was a type of culture that if you could create any kind of culture in your home with you, for you, your wife, your kids, like, how would you put language to that? Like, what's the kind of culture you would want to create in your home?
It's always so easy as an entrepreneur to like get really clear on that in your business and want to work on that. But then, I don't know why, but we think that there's this disconnect between like, if it works really well over here, well, we can't do it in our home. And that's originally why we started going through family brand stuff, is I wanted to take the stuff I've learned in the business world and apply it to my family. And so our goal right now, what I'm really trying to create, is I want my kids to feel like what you just mentioned. I want them to feel like they are 100% responsible for their success and their happiness, and that it literally can be created, but like it takes work and it takes effort and takes determination. And so just this culture of, Harris's can do anything, but they can't do everything, right? And that's a comment my wife said to me at
I love that.
one of these moments when I had a great idea and went and created something without telling her. I'm like, oh, she said, if you start another corporation, I'm divorcing you. We're joking, but but she said, really, she's like, Brian, you can do anything. Like, I truly believe that, but you can't do everything. Like, you got to get really clear on like where you want to spend your time, because if you try to do everything, you're going to fail. And it was like powerful.
Yeah.
My wife's not one of many words. Like, she's super confident, but she's not one to like tell me what to do. And that rocked me.
I love that. Harris's can do anything, but they can't do everything. Well, and your kids have an amazing example in you as a dad of that very thing. Like, it'd be one thing to tell our kids like, man, you guys can do anything and it's your responsibility to create it. But then they see you as a dad who's actually not doing that. Like, they see a dad who's not going after his dreams and not going after, but that's an amazing thing to demonstrate. And so, okay. Well, thanks, Brian, for being on. Thank you guys for watching and being part of the Connection series. You guys can go to Facebook and like our Family Brand Facebook page to learn more about upcoming series. And then if you go on Facebook and search Family Brand Community, we'd love to have you in our Facebook group. We have a free gift for you when you join a course. And yeah, I think for me, like every time I talk with Brian, it's just this reminder of like, man, what are the things that I'm really like called to do? And yeah, if I have the confidence to go after it without knowing how it's going to happen, like, you can create anything. Thanks for coming on, man.
Love it. No problem. Thank you. It's an honor.